Oh, all right, guys, what's going on? We'll give a few minutes for people to pop up here, all right? So let me back up here, get in frame, much better. I have some of my framed Watchmen comics. Normally, when I do a Watchmen video over the years, these shelves are full of my absolute and my trades and the original issues and wizards and homage covers and all that stuff like that. All right. Well, today was the big day, November 22nd. And normally I've got plenty of videos where I really go into detail and in depth about Watchmen and stuff. You can pop through my videos, put in Howler Mouse and Watchmen and stuff, and you'll see stuff. I've done it before. But one of the things I noticed right away is that the first line in Doomsday Clock #1, I did get my lenticular cover. Hey, what's up, Lou? Glad you were able to stay up for this, man. Got my lenticular cover here, if it's showing up there, of #1. I also have it ordered online. I'll be getting into my next Gmart order. And I looked up and I found this one. They only had one of this at the comic book shop and it hidden. But today's November 22nd, and the date on the first page of this book is Rorschach's journal, of course, and it says today is November 22nd or the 23rd or something like that. And normally, like I said, I've gone into detail about Watchmen before and everything like that, but that date, that was a great little Easter egg for Watchmen fans to release it on November 22nd. If you go through your Watchmen books and look up the date November 22nd, you'll see a big Dr. Manhattan Easter egg there that you're not even aware of and stuff, right? So we're going to talk about this a little bit, right? Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you on YouTube, when I was setting up the stream just 15 minutes ago, I already found 3 videos where people were practically showing you, they put a camera on and they walk through the whole book, right? So I'm not going to be really digging into the books too much and stuff, right? There's just some things I want to talk about, right? Now, the Watchmen, I think a few weeks ago, a couple of days ago, I did a whole video where I'm like, why are people not mad about this? Why are people kind of embracing the Watchmen being messed with, and even more as something that's supposed to be like a sequel, right? And I think it's because the rose on the bloom on the rose sort of went away with before Watchmen stuff. We survived. The Watchmen didn't go away. And I've actually had people tag me in Facebook post, and I had actually a direct message or two on Twitter wanting my thought about the ethical stuff that's going on with Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons over the years with this, right? So I'll touch on that a little bit. But first of all, I'm going to talk about some of the trappings in this that Jeff Johns seemed to avoid, okay? I think one of the reasons I'm not real upset about this, there's still this taboo about messing with Watchmen. The Watchmen original series over 30 years ago now, well, completed 30 years ago, it's a complete story in its own. It really is something that feels like it could be untouched. It should be untouched. It was complete on its own, right? And that's agreed by a lot of people that read it. That's just not me talking here, right? Of course, of course, as soon as I started streaming, I started getting messages. All right. But anyway, but what really for me kind of settled me down was a quote by Alan Moore when it came to his League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. If you've ever read League of Extraordinary Gentlemen by Alan Moore, basically he took a bunch of Victorian era literary characters and came up with the team of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He had Mina Harkness from Bram Stoker's Dracula. He had Mr. Hyde in there. It's soft focus is so romantic, Haller. Do you love me? Yeah. I love you all. I love everybody that's watching this. Hopefully we're getting the computer issues going here. I didn't really want to address it, but as soon as I saw this, I was just sort of like, it's kind of a nice mood. But anyway, but Alan Morse, they brought up that he was taking these characters he did not create, and they were referring to his Watchmen stuff. Feels like a 70s porn. Well, the best stuff was in the 80s, but what can you do? 70s, I'll take it, man. I'm fascinated with the 70s. But the thing about Alan Moore, he did this interview where they're saying, how are you taking characters that you didn't make, yet you don't want people to really mess with your stuff? And his response was, well, I'm taking those characters and I'm moving them forward. Okay, I'm not rehashing their past. I'm not retconning things. I'm not changing things. He's going forward with the characters. And he did this thing where he took the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen all the way up until, I think, 2007 or something, and brought in Harry Potter to it. So they went from the late 1800s to, into the 2000s with it, right? And him saying that just sort of rung in my head. Well, if you can do that with other people's characters, you're opening the door for them to do it with Watchmen, and using your own words, as something they can justify it with, right? And that's what this has done. This is how Jeff Johns, I think, is going to really pull this off. Because when I read this, I knew it was going to be solid. I knew it was going to be good. Jeff Johns is a great writer. And Jeff Johns does not shy away from the fact that he's an Alan Moore fan. So there's a little bit of level of respect. Jeff Johns really respects the medium and the characters and stuff, and it shows in his writing. I never have to read an interview with him saying that. It shows in his writing. I have his Justice JSA run. And if you want somebody who loves DC Comics and took some of these characters that, aren't as popular, as the Trinity of DC and stuff, it's in there. He does some fantastic stuff with the most, obscure characters and stuff, which is right up my alley. But here's what Jeff Johns has done in this, right? There's going to be spoilers, okay? I'm going to take a second and let you go if you don't want spoilers. 1 second. Okay. But what he's done is that he actually hasn't really touched too many of the Watchmen. Okay, the Watchmen was not a team, by the way. Okay, they never called themselves the Watchmen. We have them just go ahead and saying it's Dr. Manhattan is in this. We have Adrian Vent, Ozymandias in this, and everybody was getting excited with that preview about Rorschach. He's like he's back, and I knew it wasn't him. I thought it was going to be something obvious like Night Owl, or it was going to be Ozymandias in the costume, and we find out it's not, right? But that's what he's done. Jeff Johns has taken this world. He has so far 2 Watchmen in it, Ozymandias and Dr. Manhattan, that he's saying here. And the other characters we have is that it's not the real Rorschach, okay? And he brings in 2 other characters that are based on Steve Ditko Charlton characters, Mime and Marionette. And that's Punching, oh my God, Punching Julie. Watch me go blank now, right? So what he's done is that he's added characters to it. He has it taken place several years after the end of Watchmen, and now he can mess around with these characters and take them places and do things with them in this 12-issue story, because technically they're not Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' creations. I thought it would suck like Before Watchmen. Now, let me throw out something about the Before Watchmen. Before Watchmen had to win me over. I thought the Rorschach series writing was just disappointing. And I thought J. Michael Straczynski's Night Owl was just a mess. Yet J. Michael Straczynski wrote the Dr. Manhattan story, which I found fascinating. It was just hardcore sci-fi. The Silk Spectre book really had me to the point where I wanted that to be an ongoing series somehow. And the Minutemen was Darwin Cook, so that it's not so much that it gets a pass. It's just I'm like, Darwin wouldn't have jumped in there if he didn't have a story, So I had a real problem with that. The video is up. I never took down the video where I give my thoughts the very freaking morning I got up for work, and I'm shooting a video at 6 in the morning, still in the clothes I slept with, like, what the hell are they doing? It's a money grab. Not saying it was a money grab, right? But I think that Before Watchmen is one of the things that kind of made this be accepted. Okay, it happened. We survived. The Ozymandias story felt like a comic book, but it had some cool insights to it, right? So anyway, getting back to what I was saying, I think I think Jeff Johns avoided a huge, that first issue at least, avoided a huge pitfall by bringing in new characters and having them fit in and having them come from the same source, the Charlton heroes and stuff. And the other thing it's going to do is that I'm just going to put it out there. One of the things I thought was genius, another spoiler here, is that this Rorschach proves that he is not the original Rorschach. In a way, it still kind of makes me kind of wonder why this would be the proof. You know what I mean? But he pulls off this glove and shows that he's a black man. And for some reason, when people see him being a black man, they're like, oh, you are a new guy. Maybe that'll be something that they talk about later in the series, why that's the proof. I don't know. The assumptions of the characters in it, maybe that's part of the theme, because Jeff Johns has said that this book is going to be about the cynicism of the real world of today, the cynicism and things like that in the political environment that's going on, and the whole idea of Superman being a symbol of hope and optimism and stuff, right? So I'm wondering if that's playing into it right off the bat with, the issues of race, right? Now, the reason I think that's actually a cool, ingenious idea to a certain extent is because of the Rorschach mask. It's black and white. Rorschach always is like Mr. A. Steve Ditko's Mr. A. It's either bad or good, good or evil, black or white, no in between. And Rorschach was uncompromising, right? And that shows in his mask. That was the whole point of having him have a black and white mask. You know, it was to reflect that philosophy of life, if you will, right? So there's things you could read into that, which is very cool. You know, we're getting two sides of this, and this Rorschach so far loves pancakes, and he did compromise in this, right? So right off the bat, I think Jeff Johns came up with a solid story so far. This is just number one. We got 11 more to go. He's introduced some other characters. He's given us this familiar world of the Watchmen. We see what's happened later, 5 years later, if you will. He's thrown a little Easter eggs in there for the Watchmen. There's all kinds of articles out there and all kinds of reviews starting to come up and stuff where they go in there and they really show you the Easter eggs and they show you the things that are the same from the other Watchmen. I mean, it's the same world. They've done their homework. And I want to sit there and now I want to praise Gary Frank's art. Gary Frank is somebody who, I want to say it's been 20 years that I've ended up getting his stuff. Midnight Nation by J. Michael Straczynski. Squadron Supreme with J. Michael Straczynski. Superman Secret Origins. Batman Earth 1. Awesome. Live Howler stream. Might just got better. I hope so, Matt. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, man. See if we can keep people in here. Just rattling away about Watchmen. But Midnight Nation was amazing. Yes, yes. Very underrated little Easter egg, a little jewel in anybody's collection. It's one of those things where Midnight Nation is one of those things where I'm kind of glad it didn't really blow up. You know, that's a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And J. Michael Straczynski had a lot to say in it. But anyway, going back to Gary Frank's art. Yeah, Rising Stars. Rising Stars, for some reason, felt familiar. And I laughed. Now, I want to mention Rising Stars because it goes with the Watchmen theme. But Wizard Magazine and the people who were reading that back in the day, it's amazing. I have a wizard here somewhere where there's an article about is Rising Stars the next Watchmen? Is it going to replace what Watchmen was? And I laughed when I read that. Um, Rising Stars was, I'll do a stream about that one day. I might just do a bunch of J. Michael Straczynski stories. But getting back to Gary Frank, man. But you know, I've ended up with a lot of Gary Frank's art. And I always thought the guy was a great artist. I thought he drew heads like they needed more of a brain pan. I mean, if I had to critique it and stuff. But the man is amazing. The man's really great at what he does. Real tight pencils. Just great storyteller. And then all of a sudden he does this book. And Jeff Johns said that if Gary Frank was not available or did not want to do this book, there would have been no Doomsday Clock. Gary Frank is the only person that could do it. I thought that was a bold statement. I thought it was part of marketing to say that and stuff. And now that I've read it, I completely agree. This is Gary Frank above and beyond anything he's ever done. I think he's made his mark with this book. And he's done some high-profile books before. You know, some great high-profile writers. Even if the story in this first issue had bombed, the art in it is freaking fantastic. He has captured the Dave Gibbons designed Watchmen world when it comes down to the very bars in the jailhouse that you can go back in the original Watchmen, and he's captured all that stuff, but he's not doing Dave Gibbons. He's making it his own. He's serving the story. It's great balance, a great way he can do that. He did a phenomenal job on Babylon 5. Never watched Babylon 5. I've tried to watch 2 or 3 episodes of it because I'm a Bill Mummy fan, and I think he was on it, if I'm remembering the right series. Never could really find it. It was syndicated probably at 2, 3 in the morning. If you go to the Zodum. Gotcha. Appreciate it, man. But with Doomsday Clock, we get in there. With Doomsday Clock, we get in there, and he's got the tone of the Watchmen, okay? He's got the world of the Watchmen. We can piece it together. Jeff Johns is able to write in the way to where the, our letter boxes, our Rorschach's journal, if you will, our dialogue, it plays off of the panels that they're in. You know, it's saying one thing, moving the story above, but it also applies symbolically, as an allegory or a symbol or a metaphor or something to the panel. So he's writing like Alan Moore, and he's in there. And I thought the Rorschach journal was really awkward until I found out that it's a different Rorschach, right? Some of it was a little bit just awkward, but we're finding out this is a guy that likes pancakes. Friar Tuck. Oh, they're talking about Babylon 5 in there, right? So another thing that really surprised me about it is how we switched over to the universes, okay? Um, we had, this takes place in 1992 Watchmen world, the real world, if you will, and then all of a sudden we get into a dream with Superman at the end, and there's little details in there that I'm kind of wondering, what does this mean? The Superman shirt or cape is neatly folded on a table. He's in bed with Lois Lane. He's dreaming about being a teenager for some reason. He's dreaming about saying that, he's dreaming of the night that Ma and Pa Kent died in a wreck, Um, which was really fascinating. But then he says he's never had a nightmare before. So I'm sitting here thinking, is Dr. Manhattan manipulating his dreams again? Yeah, it does feel like a sequel to it. They're doing the 9-panel grids on it and stuff, right? But there's also little clues that you get in there and you read in there. When they, oh my gosh, I keep letting me go blank what it is. But when they get to Antarctica, they're showing Ozymandias is basically the most wanted man in the world. Rorschach's journal got published. Everybody knows that the big squid at the end of it was, Adrian Veidt killing 3 million people, hospitalizing hundreds of thousands of other people, and psychologically damaging anybody who had any kind of psychic, what do you call it? Psychic awareness of way, sensitivity, psychic, they have psychic sensitivity and stuff. So he's the most wanted man in the world, and we're on the verge of like being 3.5 hours or something from nuclear war. Russia's invading Poland. Everybody's still trying to track down Adrian Veidt. He's the most wanted man in the world and stuff right there. And they go into, the fort that he has down in Antarctica. I can't believe I'm forgetting what it's called. But anyway, they get in and he has all his TVs in there. And if you read in the snippets of all the news that's catching us up on there, and all the broadcast stations are saying they're going off air and everything like that, they're talking about Rorschach's journal being found and published by the New Frontier and exposing his crime. And then just for half a second, there's a half a sentence talking about the journal being stolen. So he's already laying in Easter eggs for this mystery. That's another thing. This is not a mystery story, but he still is giving us a mystery on who these characters are. Where are they? Okay. Hey, what's up, Dragon Dude? Good to see you again, right? So now the questions I have, the things that are hooking me, because there's plenty of articles you can read, other videos and stuff that's tearing this thing apart. But the thing that's hooked me is that, are we going to see where Night Owl and Silk Spectre are? They're kind of mentioned in a way like they've retired, and Adrian Veidt's trying to get them to come out of hiding. So I'm like, where are they? Did Sally Jupiter, not Sally Jupiter, anyway, did Silk Spectre end up becoming the next comedian? Are they retired? Where are they at? These people are probably in their 50s by now, late 40s, things like that. They've gotten older. Where are they? What are they doing? It's 1992. And Rorschach has used the promise of Adrian Veidt finding Marionette and Mime's son, their baby, as a way to get into work with them, help us out here, help us bring God back down, referring to Dr. Manhattan. Okay, 25 years later, where's their kid at? Is the kid were we going to see the kid in the DC universe, or is this just a red herring? The kids got kidnapped and killed. I mean, it's in the real world there where terrible things happen. We've already seen Rorschach lose the original Rorschach went nuts. He went from Walter Kovac to Rorschach's when he was investigating a little girl that was kidnapped. You can go back and read it. Are we going to see that repeated here, where we see this Rorschach snap? He's already referring to himself as Rorschach, not as a person. So that's what I mean. There's a lot of things that you have a tension. It's tension. That's kind of cool. You have a tension of like, oh no, they brought a baby into it. Oh no, where they want to go with this and things like that. So there's this, the more you know about Watchmen, the more it pays off in this. The more you think about it, is Jeff Johns going to keep moving forward with the story? We're going to see some history repeat here and stuff, right? So there's a lot of things as a Watchmen fan that I am for 30 years now. Oh, hey, thanks, J-Rocks. Yeah, nice to see you too, man. So there's a lot of things that have already hooked me personally. Little things that I've already seen in there that I haven't really seen anybody else mention today since this has come out. There's a lot of people excited about it. The other thing is the book is actually starting to kind of win people over that were skeptical about it, at least in my circles. That's another good thing. I'm really glad to see people being open-minded about it. like I said, 5 years ago, I probably would have been like, what the hell are they doing? Love the art. Not sure about the story yet, but it's just the first issue exactly. Is this Black Rorschach also a trans lesbian? I don't know. I don't know. They haven't really, we don't know enough about him and stuff. I know I know you're joking and stuff, man. But I think part of what the social commentary is going to be is about the cynicism and the people who think they have uh, the moral high ground, if you will, in the judgmental stuff. That's actually one of the things I think Jeff Johns is going to address. J Rock's watching the movie and reading the book. Two different experiences, man. I have the movie. I want to watch the movie again tonight. I have the ultimate cut. I like the movie. I hated the theater cut. They had a few scenes that were good that way, but when you watch the ultimate cut and get the whole thing, it's just, I hope that's the one you have. It's a fantastic movie. It's closer to the Watchmen than we could have hoped for, and the ending actually worked for me. Where they changed the ending. But you have to read the book and take your time with it, and you're going to want to. I hope you want to read it multiple times because there's so many things in there. I want to stop right here for a minute and kind of plug a playlist that I have on my channel from years back. They improved the ending in the movie. I think it was the only way to do it for a movie. And they also tied it into itself with Dr. Manhattan's energy, the blue. They just tied it up very well in the movie. I agree. It worked for the movie. But there's a playlist on my channel. If you go in there, it's the Watchmen reviews. A couple years ago, I think around 2012 or 13 or something, Ghost Critic, who go check out his channel, contacted a bunch of us, and we all a bunch of different channels, and I did chapters 1 and 12. Okay, and each channel did a review of The Watchmen, and I had chapters 1 and 12, and there's a different person doing 2 and a different person doing 3. The playlist should be public on my channel for the channels that are still alive and they have the reviews on there. I'd highly recommend going and watching them, and you'll hear some of the Easter eggs and stuff for you people who've not read The Watchmen before. And I'm kind of jealous. The Watchmen and The Dark Knight Returns and maybe one or two other books, I wish I could go back and read them for the first time again. So jealous. Yeah, Jay. Yeah, that's cool, man. We've done this with this community. We've done other reviews like that and stuff. And I'm trying not to get off track, man. I want to kind of talk Watchmen. So what we'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and tell you issue number 1 for Doomsday Clock. Worth getting. Definitely worth getting. Worth the chance. I actually paid full price for these, and I'm a howler mouse. I don't pay full price. And I did, and I don't regret it. And I have another lenticular cover coming to me and stuff, right? Now, Louis, who's watching this stuff on Twitter, just I don't know, about an hour ago, said he feels like this could be, a classic, and I hope he's right. Did you notice Ozymandias has made a new little boost? Yeah, Boobas test in number 1. Yes, I saw the little kitten he was holding, and I was like, holy shit, that was cool. You know what I mean? There's little things in there that lighten the tone of it. The world is falling down around us, and he's got new life in him, kind of bringing back, I loved it. Friar Tuck, this may draw me back to the comic shop. Yes, and I'll go ahead and tell you there's a lot of good stuff I saw at the comic book shop, but it is coming from DC, of all places. I recommend Batman White Knight, just like everybody else is. I'm recommending Mr. Miracle to a certain extent. I don't really want to push that book because Tom King is writing such a surreal story that I think the thing needs to be read on its own. I'm recommending a few of the Batman Metal. I think the Metal Dark Knight Metal series that's going on with a bunch of one-shots. I think there's enough out there for anybody to find something out of those one-shots they like. What about C.B. Cebulski? Okay. Someone asked, should I end this here now because I want to keep this about Doomsday Clock and start up a new stream immediately like after this? As soon as I end this, I started to talk about Axel Alonso and the editor-in-chief and CB coming in. How would you guys stick around for another stream if I started it up like in 2 minutes? Let me know. I really don't want to tag too much to this. I want this to be about Doomsday Clock. Yes, Louis. They did dedicate the number 1 issue to Len Wein, who, and it is Len Wein, That's how you say the name. I found out from Comics Pro. It's Len Wein. Yeah, they dedicated it to him. You know, he was the editor on it. He's the one that gave it the go-ahead. Yep, that's cool, man. All right, guys, I'm going to take the chance. Go out, buy a Doomsday Clock. Thanks for listening to my thoughts on it. Check out all the playlists and videos I have up about the Watchmen. And I'm going to go ahead and immediately start a live stream after this talking about Axel Alonso and CB coming in as new editor-in-chief, man. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. I'm making a decision. Okay, thanks, guys. Later.